Hello and namaskar viewers, I am Sanjeev Pandya welcoming you to another edition of the Business Talk with AJ right here on ITV Gold. This weekly show brings you all the latest that you need to know from the world of business. That's a global business stories we bring you. But now we are, of course, in the month of February and tax season is upon us. So what we're going to do is that we're going to combine business stories and we're going to bring you tax matters also, because of course you need to file taxes, you need to know about taxes, and it will help you to increase your knowledge, and also it will help you to pick a right CPA and right accounting firm, which is Sai CPA Services, multiple locations in the state of New Jersey. They can help you with any tax matters that you have, any tax problems that you have. Even if you have a tax audit, contact Sai CPA Services. They are knowledgeable, experienced CPAs, as well as very, very knowledgeable the management. They will help you out. They'll make sure you file your taxes right, and whatever refund that you are entitled to, you do get it. That's what Sai CPA Services motto is, and their phone number is 908-380-6876, or visit their website saicpaservices.com. With that note, I'd like to welcome Mr. AJ Kumar of Sai CPA Services to the show. So good to see you.
Thank you, Sanjeev. Thank you for the kind introduction.
You're very welcome. How come I see on your forehead everywhere is written tax, 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 tax?
Because it's the tax season.
Tax season.
That's the only thing we can think of.
Yes, Ajay ji has started to work 25 hours a day, because of tax season. But Ajay ji, in our show, the Business Talk with AJ, we're going to start, putting some tax information.
Absolutely.
So we're going to need your advice and the guidance in every week show, so that our viewers can be educated and they know exactly how does the taxes work, what do they need to do to pick a right accountant and accounting firm. So we'll do that. But as always, we start with the business stories, and the first story is always related to Dow Jones, yani ki stock market.
So Dow Jones has been going up and down. Recently, in last few days, we saw Dow Jones going down again, based on a lot of layoffs that we have seen in the industry. But again, don't count on it. Now the Dow Jones have been going strong, at least better than what we saw at the end of last year. We expect consistent, slow growth, but remember, it's going to be up and down. It's not the time for the short seller to be playing in the market. If you have a long-term horizon, this will be a good idea for you to put some money in and sort of forget about it for some time.
All right, Ajay ji, good to know that information really helps. Now, Fed chairman is in the news. Fed chairman recently just said that inflation has started to ease. As we were talking, it could be a mild inflation or very minimum effect, and now there are signs that inflation has started to ease. Consumer confidence is going up. What we don't see really good is that the prices are still high, the grocery prices and fuel and everything.
Yes, the grocery prices are still high, but the freight prices have gone down substantially. If you remember, 6 months ago, the freight prices went up to $14,000, $15,000.
Yeah.
Now they are back to what they used to be,
$3,500,
about
$5,000,
$3,000, under $4,000. So there are a lot of things that have been going down. So the inflation is easing up. The way Mr. Powell say that the work that has been done is showing the right impact. They have been increasing the interest rate every so often. Last interest rate increase was 25 basis point. Mr. Powell is suggesting that there may be another increase, but it's not going to be huge and it may not be consistent, meaning if there is an increase, it's going to be one of the last increase that we see. But remember, even if the interest rates are not going to be increased, we don't expect the interest rate to be going down. Fed is not going to be reducing the rate in the near future. So we expect at least in 2023, the interest rate to remain high or towards the high range.
Absolutely, it will be like that, and all signs are indicating that there will be an increase in interest rate, and let's hope that it's a minor one, just like the last one.
25 basis points.
But exactly, but let's see what happens now. There are corporate CEOs, and one CEO is always in the news and giving a lot of information about U.S. economy related to inflation and then recession and whatnot. Always gives his opinion on it, and that person is J.P. Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon. Jamie Dimon says that we're not out of the danger yet. That means it's too early to call a victory.
Absolutely.
And he also said interest rate will remain around 5%.
So Mr. Diamond is indicating even though the inflation is going down, inflation is slowing down, it's not as high as it once was, but it's not deflation situation right now. So the interest rate may not be increasing 75 basis point, 50 basis point, but it's not that the government is going to come out of its way to say inflation is going down, so let's reduce the interest rate. They will not be reducing the interest rate. For 2023, interest rate will still remain on the higher side.
Above 5%.
Above 5%.
And then hopefully that will really stable economic picture will look good, because remember, whatever they need to do right now to build up a strong base for 2024 presidential election. Okay, now, if you've been to Disney World lately, obviously whenever you go to Disney World, first is that you spend so much time waiting in a line.
And so much money.
Even though if you have a jet pass,
absolutely,
you still spend so much time. And now Disney cutting down 7,000 jobs. I don't know whether that will make you spend more time in the lines or not, but not necessarily, not in the theme park. It could be in the office, but Disney CEO has announced that wants to cut down 7,000 jobs.
Igor, the new CEO that Disney has hired, is trying to right the ship. The last CEO had a lot of complaints around it, a lot of complaints the way things were managed. Not only the company was financially struggling, there were a lot of complaints in terms of service, in terms of Disney theme park in general, where the lines were too long, it was too expensive. So the new CEO, Mr. Igor, is trying to right the ship, fix the situation, letting go few people. I mean, 7,000 is not few, but letting go people. Hopefully, it will help Disney reduce the theme park prices, the ticket prices, fix certain things to in their speed pass,
correct,
whatever they have over there. And even with the speed pass, they have so much restrictions over there that you cannot really get in the right ride unless you really plan it 6 months in advance. So some of these things are really, really crazy when it comes to Disney.
Absolutely. So 7,000 jobs, but I'd say mainly those jobs could be in corporate offices. It will be very less likely very much in the theme park, because they need to have staff. All right, as we are talking about inflation and the jobs and everything, International Monetary Fund, known as IMF, they have predicted that overall growth this year, worldwide growth, is going to be 2.9%.
And that's a positive news. If you remember, their earlier forecast was 2.7%, so which is now 2.9, effectively 10% higher than what their earlier forecast was. 2.7 versus 2.9 is 0.2%, which is almost 10% higher than their earlier forecast. So when you talk about the world economy, 0.2% is a huge number. We are talking about not billions, trillions of dollars over here. So that's a very good news, positive news that we have from the IMF.
All right, and International Monetary Fund, which monitors every single country, whoever is a member of IMF, every single country's GDP and the growth rate and everything, and they combine it together, 2.9%. Right now they are saying 2.9%. I hope that in their amended forecast, I hope it gets above 3% or 3.5%. That would be a very healthy sign.
Yes, just for our viewers, there is a word of caution over there. Even IMF is saying 84% of the members, 84% of the countries will have lower forecasts. So even though in total it's great, it's good for the whole world, but the time to come is going to be a struggling time. The economy is going to be slightly difficult than what you have seen in the past.
Okay.
At least in the near term.
So there are countries who are going to perhaps underperform for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. But the developed countries, top 10, 12 countries, whatever, they're probably going to perform at the expected level, or maybe some of
slightly
them
higher
than that, and putting it together, it comes down to 2.9%. All right, now talk about jobs. Of course, we are in now month of February, but here's the good news. US added 517,000 jobs in the month of January.
And just to put it into perspective, Sanjeevji, 517 may not sound a huge number when you're talking about millions of people, but the government was expecting only 185,000 jobs to be increasing. The current, we talk about US tech companies layoff, we talk about Disney layoff, we talk about Microsoft, Meta, Walmart, Facebook, everybody's laying off. But right now, the unemployment rate that we have is the lowest that we have seen in last 50 years.
Absolutely. Now, when they say 517,000 jobs added in month of January, we talked about in month of January, many many corporate, they had laid off people. Do they minus out that number?
No. It's not a positive versus negative number. They only talk about how many new jobs have been added
Okay.
compared to what they had earlier.
So roughly, if we just add up numbers between Meta, yani ki Facebook Meta and Google and Twitter and now Disney, roughly if we add up, still it comes down to 400,000 jobs, 450,000.
we wouldn't know that because we only know the major companies,
Yeah,
the
I
bigger
know
companies.
that. But I'm just guessing. Could be what, 100,000?
And you also have to remember one Meta job is worth 50 of these jobs. The 517 jobs that were added, they're mostly into the hospitality industry, the restaurant industry, where the salaries are typically much
But
lower.
my point is that in month of January, employers did not give away 517,000 jobs. That number
probably
gotta be
not.
smaller than that. So it still
Absolutely.
looks good.
Yes.
Now, that makes economy looks good. And just AJ mentioned that the unemployment rate is lowest in 50 years. What exactly what it is and who mentioned that, it's all coming up in the second half, because we're going to start with President Joe Biden's State of the Union address, which was a couple of days ago, and he did touch upon some of the topics that which we would like to discuss in our show. So that's all coming up in the second half. You're watching the Business Talk with AJ on ITV Gold. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the second half of the Business Talk with AJ right here on ITV Gold. And before we start bringing you all the accounting matters, the tax matters that you need to know, first I'd like to bring it to your attention is Sai CPS Services, a complete accounting firm that you can trust, that you can believe in. They are having a huge clientele in the USA and serving some of the high profile clients here in New Jersey. The reason I'm saying is because they are the ones who do the taxes right, and they make sure their clients are well prepared and the taxes are done right. Whatever deductions they need to take, they can take it, but whatever taxes they need to pay, they will pay it. So for your personal accounting needs or corporate taxes or anything, you can contact Sai CPS Services. Even if you have, God forbid, IRS tax audit, fear not. Sai CPS Services can help you out. Their knowledgeable staff is always ready to help you over the phone, on a Zoom call, in-person meeting, whatever it is. 908-380-6876 is the number, and SciCPSServices.com is their website. Okay, Tuesday evening, I was looking forward to Joe Biden's State of the Union
Absolutely.
address, because this perhaps the last State of the Union address before 2024 election. So I was looking forward to it, and listen, I wasn't disappointed, to be honest with
Yes.
you. Okay, so now let's talk about the topics which relates to our show, the business or taxes here. Economy se shuru karte, because
Sure.
we just talked about 517,000 jobs added in the month of January, and unemployment rate, Joe Biden mentioned unemployment is 50-year low. I think it's a 3.9%, something
Yes,
like that.
absolutely.
50-year low. Huh?
That's
Even though,
amazing.
in spite of hearing all these layoffs and job cuttings and everything, still it stands at.
Well, in general, the unemployment is lowest. But for the ethnic community, for the community that we serve, that we are part of, there are a lot of cuts. If you look at the total cuts are happening in the high price IT industry right now. The jobs that they're talking about have been added. They're added into the hospitality industry, the general restaurant industry. So if you take a step back, and again, remember, this is the government agenda. It looks the government better if they say currently the unemployment rate is 50 years low. If they say that we have messed up the economy and the unemployment rate is high, it's not going to be part of the president's agenda.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
So you have to look everything into perspective. So Mr. Biden did a good job. But at the same time, if you recall, they also mentioned about increasing the tax rates.
That's what I was going to come into, that he did mention taxes. He said that previous administration gave a lot of tax breaks to the wealthy people, and he said number of billionaires in the country. I forgot, it could be 1,000, but don't hold me to it. And those people pay very little taxes, and he has signed up a bill for billionaires taxes and the corporate clients. These corporations make billions of dollars, right? They pay very little taxes because of the structure, because of tax structure.
Absolutely, you are 100% right, Sanjeevji. And this tax structure, I wouldn't say they pay very little taxes, but they pay lower taxes than what they used to pay. when we had Mr. Trump as the president, he did changes the tax laws. Say one example is large corporation used to pay 35% income tax, and now they pay 21%. So he reduced the rate by 1/3, Mr. President.
Correct.
So there are a lot of those changes were made under Trump's time, and it made the economy come back. If you look at the COVID situation was quite desperate. So a lot of smaller business got a lot of funding, lot of money, PPP, EIDL, grant, free money. There were a lot of money that was pushed into the economy to bring the economy back. And that's why we see, one conspiracy theory is that's why we see a lot of inflation now, because a lot of people got free money and they were able to buy whatever they wanted to buy.
Correct, yeah.
Now, if you try to curb the economy and try to increase the rate, it's not going to be that easy. Mr. Biden is going to see a lot of pushback on all these plans, especially if you look at the current House situation. It's not going to be easy for them to get anything passed immediately. But the current plan is, at least Mr. Biden is promising, it's not going to be affecting the general population, people like me and people like you. It's going to be more for the high net worth clients, wealthy clients, billionaires, and for the large corporation.
Good. Now, my question to you is that, let's say Trump gave this corporation a big break from 35% to 21%, and savings on taxes. Biden says otherwise, saying that they need to pay more taxes. But when corporation gets that kind of tax break, doesn't it mean that they have more money to hire more employees?
It does, and that's how Mr. Trump justified it. Now corporations are saving a lot of money. Now corporations are owned, especially the public corporations, by people like me and you. We all own the shares of these corporations. So in effect, we are getting some more dividend, or the corporation have enough cash, extra cash, to hire more people or to expand the business, to either create new job or pay more money to the people that they have hired.
Correct.
Well, at least that's the theory around it.
Okay, all right. So it will definitely help. So he definitely touched upon that issue, billionaire taxes, and then he also mentioned about the jobs. And now, let's go into the little bit of accounting things. Let's come up with the deadlines for people to know for if they have S corporation, C corporation, LLC, or partnership.
Absolutely, that's great. I'm glad you reminded me. So for all the multi-member LLC and S corporation, the tax deadline for filing the income tax return 1065-1120S is March 15th. For the C corporation or the personal taxes, the deadline is April 18th this year. So just make sure if you are not able to file the taxes, at least please file the extension for your taxes. And remember, when you file the extension is for filing the taxes. If you owe the money, you still need to pay that money before the tax deadline of March 15th or April 15th. So if you owe large amount of money, pay some estimated taxes for your corporation,
Correct.
for your personal taxes. When you file the extension, that does not mean you have 6 more months to pay the taxes. That only means you have 6 more months to file the taxes. Extension is for filing the taxes only, not for paying the taxes. Otherwise, IRS will charge you extra interest, penalties, and they have several different type of penalties for it.
All right, so these are the ones. Let's just touch base upon quickly standard deductions for head of the household, married filing jointly, married filing separately, and single.
Absolutely. So standard deduction is a concept when we use if you don't own a home, then you don't have the property tax or mortgage interest. In that case, more than likely you will be using standard deduction. What we advise, Sanjeevji, that you prepare your taxes in both ways, standard deduction and itemized deduction, and see how you are getting the benefit. Just remember, even if you are using the standard deduction, you have $300 extra per person for donation per spouse. So you can claim $600 more on top of the standard deduction to get extra benefit for the donation amount.
And you don't need to have receipts for that.
Well, you should have receipts for it.
But you don't need to submit with the tax.
You do not need to submit the receipt. Just remember, the receipts need to be contemporaneous receipt for all your donations. There is no such limit that if it's $10 or $200 or $200 or $300, you do not need to submit any receipt with your tax return. And contemporaneous receipt means you should have the receipt at the time of filing the taxes. You cannot say, I know the temple. If you want, I can get you the receipt. That does not work. At the time of filing the taxes, you should have the receipt with you in your hands. Again, you don't need to submit the receipt with the tax return. You should have it with you.
Okay. All right. So we talked about tax filing deadlines. We talked about standard deductions. And as we go along every week, viewers, we're going to bring you more and more tax matters in this show. But remember, this is all brought to you by Science CPA Services, a full-fledged complete accounting firm in state of New Jersey, multiple locations. But wherever you are in the state of US, they can definitely help you out with your personal taxes as well as corporate taxes. So do reach out to them, 908-380-6876, or visit their website, sciencecpaservices.com, and I can almost assure you that you'll be very, very pleased with their service. Now, a question comes to my mind, AJ, is that you help out people throughout USA, but you also help out and advise individuals who own property in India. They still have property in India, and they still maintain bank balance in India. Now, that's called FBAR. Now, FBAR is a very tricky but very important topic.
It must.
I request you that in the next week, let's talk about FBAR.
You are 100% right. In the next week episode, we'll talk about FBAR, foreign bank account reporting. We'll talk about FATCA, 8938 filing. We'll talk about 3520 if you have inheritance coming from India, and we'll talk about 1116 if you are paying any taxes. We call it TDS, tax deducted at source, in India. How do you claim the taxes paid in India on your US tax return? We'll be happy to talk about this.
All right, so these are the important topics, as you heard, that we're going to definitely bring it to you next week right here right in this show, The Business Talk with AJ on ITV Gold. And we'd like to thank AJ for his time for
Absolutely.
that. We really
It's my
appreciate it.
pleasure.
And remember, sciencecpaservices.com is the website that you should visit. I am Sanjeev Pandya, wishing you all happy and tax-free days ahead. So long.
Thank you.